So, I hope you're all doing good. And if this is my first video that's uploaded to my channel, then welcome to Ultra Instinct Bandia. This is literally just an experiment. I'm speaking out of my mind, and आज हम बात करेंगे मेरे favorite bloody psychologist, clinical psychologist. His name is Jordan B. Peterson. काफ़ी लोग उसको जानते भी होंगे शायद. In the US he's sort of like the राइट विंग मूवमेंट का वो उसको मसीहा वगैरह टाइप बना रखा है whatever. But that's not the reason we are going to listen to him. We're going to listen to him because he is bloody authentic. And we are also going to study के how like कितना आसान है किसी एक इंसान की बात को उठाना and to portray it as something completely different. Alright. And how easy it is to manipulate the masses. This will be a learning in how to not get manipulated just by seeing, a clip of someone saying something जो कि काफ़ी out of context हो सकती है. ठीक है, so alright, 10% फ़ोन की बैटरी, no problem. Alright, पहले मैं चाहता हूँ आप लोग एक क्लिप को सुनो where Jordan Peterson says like, let's watch it together and we'll know what he means to me and maybe something to someone else.
I don't think you and I are necessarily talking at such cross purposes. It's just that your conception of patriarchy, as I see it in the book, is that quite a lot of men are quite nice and they do nice things for women. And
no, that's not my conception of patriarchy.
Well,
and I don't require men or advise them to be nice, ever.
Well, you do talk about the guy who's the tampon king, the sanitary towel king of India, right?
I wouldn't call that nice.
Okay,
I would call that brave.
Okay.
Did you read about his life when he was trying to develop that?
Yeah.
God, it was absolutely miserable, and he did it anyways. He freed all sorts of women as a consequence.
And I think that was
nice. That's courageous. That's noble. That's visionary. It's not nice.
I think it is also.
Okay, so for those who don't know him, he has one of these sayings like, you should be dangerous, you should be capable of great things, and then you should be able to control it. And I kind of completely agree with him because it's sort of, I do believe in this, that it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. And second, I think what he means is that if you just settle onto the mediocrity that you're born with, everyone is born mediocre by the way, okay? So that's how you mean a whole population, right? Mediocrity is the mean of the whole population, right? So okay, not everyone. But the point being that we're dealt with the cards we're given and what we make of them, what we do with our potential that is given to us. To achieve that, you should be capable of doing great things, dangerous things, and then you should be able to control it and focus it into one particular area that you think is the purpose of your life, that you think gives meaning to you, or in any way that gives a meaning. Definition will maybe discuss, maybe will not, I don't know.
Nice. I think it is also something that is, it is honouring your social obligations.
I'm not so sure that that's a social obligation because many other people would have done it had it been a social obligation. He said what he was concerned about. He saw that his wife was suffering with her monthly period and had to choose between feeding her family and taking care of herself properly, and chose to feed her family and thought he would do something about that. That goes way past nice, especially given what he had to suffer through to do all the experimentation that produced his eventual technology. So this whole
इससे related एक point है that she said that it's a social obligation, so and he said, but अगर वो social obligation होती तो पहले बाकी लोगों ने क्यों नहीं कर दिया? Why didn't people before him, step forward for this? And that explains things like, okay, it takes courage to take a step. It takes courage to change something that everyone every fucking body sees wrong, everyone tells you it's wrong, everyone says oh well, you know, ये करना चाहिए वो करना चाहिए whatever, and then they don't take a single step towards it for maybe different reasons. It's not that you know that much great a part of their life. ये उनको उसमें में इफेक्ट नहीं करता है डेली, so they're not bothered by it. They're bothered a little bit, just a little bit, by reading it, but thinking oh that's a sad thing that happens. But yeah, so this guy जो इंडियन टैम्पॉन किंग की बात कर रहे हैं, वी ऑल नो, लाइक उन पे अक्षय कुमार जी ने एक बढ़िया मूवी भी बनाई थी. बट ही सेज के इट टेक्स फकिंग करेज टू एंटर दिस. So it was not a social obligation. No, social obligation does not compel you to do any bloody thing. ठीक है, तुम जब तक कैमरा के सामने you'll behave obligated, right? And as soon as the camera is, you know, away, camera by meaning eyes, public eye, whatever, then you'll just go back to whatever you were doing.
Patriarchy thing. I think you have no idea how pernicious and dangerous it is.
Well, no,
You
I
know,
don't.
men
I
and
really don't.
women
Go on.
throughout history have fundamentally cooperated to push back against the absolute catastrophe of existence. A terrible death rate, the probability of chronic starvation, early death, disease.
Okay, ये फिलहाल he has gone into another topic, but anyhow, we'll look at another tape of, yeah, this one.
Now, how would you detect your own inauthenticity or your own incongruence? Well, Rogers had this idea that he called subception, which was maybe something that you might regard as a sixth sense. It's sort of like propriocentric perception.
Okay, so एक premise तो तुम्हारे लिए ये सेटअप कर दिया मैंने पीटरसन का पिछली वीडियो से. This video would be a premise around like that he actually teaches people how they can articulate their thoughts very well, how they can, you know, not behave, but how they can actually think about their potential, as just how they can challenge themselves to do hard things, and why hard things. ठीक है, क्यों मुश्किलें चाहिए, ज़िंदगी आसान भी तो जी जा सकती है. ठीक है, आसान इन द सेंस के एक कंफर्टेबल ईजी लाइफ दैट यू, मेरे आपके जैसे प्रिविलेज लोग जो ईजिली जी सकते हैं अपने पेरेंट्स के मनी पे. ठीक है, इवन दो इंडिया में बहुत बैकलैश होगा इसका, बट एनीहाउ. सो एंड इन दिस वीडियो ही सेज के आर यू एक्चुअली बीइंग ट्रू टू योरसेल्फ, आर यू एक्चुअली टेलिंग योरसेल्फ द ट्रूथ, या फिर तुम खुद को ही बहाने बनाते हो. एंड the worst person to lie to is yourself. I too think so, and कहीं ना कहीं से inspire होके he is just saying like if you can't tell the truth, at least don't lie. Alright, and I think it's beautiful. Like हर वक्त इंसान सच भी नहीं बोल सकता. Like you don't want to tell everyone what you're doing, what you're planning on doing, but well, you can also not be like rude to them. You can also not manipulate them, you know, saying something, doing something else उस वे में. So ये तो चलो एक थर्ड पर्सन पर्सपेक्टिव से हो गया. How do you treat someone else present in front of you? But what he's talking about right now is how to be authentic to yourself. That we can convince our brains really easily. The easiest person to fool is yourself. You can say आज मन नहीं है यार, आज ये काम रहता है, कभी और करूँगा, ये करूँगा. For the things that may be an obligation in your mind, you know, social obligation, whatever that you think the necessary hard shit that you have to do it. And don't worry, I do struggle with these things daily, every single day. So it's a battle like which is fought every day. हारते रोज़ हैं उसको, लड़ना भी रोज़ पड़ता है, जीतते भी रोज़ हैं. तो ऐसी बात नहीं है, बट हाँ कंपाउंडिंग इफेक्ट इसमें भी बहुत ज़्यादा हैवी है. सो लेट्स वॉच इट.
Perception. And that's the perception that you have of your body as it's reacting and localized in time and space. And so it's sort of like touch, the feeling, but it's your sense of how you're reacting internally and where you are. And a lot of that is subserved by the autonomic nervous system, which is reporting to you about various states of being in your body. Rogers believed that you could use the information that's being provided to you from your body, sort of bottom up, to determine when you were being inauthentic or non-congruent. And I've thought about this for a long time and tried to sort it out in a practical manner. And what I've concluded is this. You can try this for a couple of weeks. It's an extremely interesting exercise. So you sort of have to detach yourself from your thoughts and what you say. So you got to assume, you start by assuming that what you say and what you think is not necessarily you. And of course that's just the case, because a lot of what you think, in fact most of what you think and most of what you say, are the opinions of other people. They're things you've read or things people have told you, and you know that's a benefit in some ways because you get all those thoughts that other people have spent a long time formulating, but it's a disadvantage in that it's not exactly you. Okay, so you detach yourself from that. You're no longer your...
So what he's saying is कि हम जैसे जिस जगह बड़े होते हैं, ठीक है, जो स्कूल में जाते हैं, जो लोग हमारे आसपास हैं, we sort of form these notions जो हमें पता भी नहीं होता कि हमारे अपने नहीं हैं. जैसे कि standards of beauty, ठीक है, तुम जहाँ born होते हो मे बी उसके according someone of a certain body type is beautiful, someone with certain like features is beautiful. And अब जिस जनरेशन में हम बड़े हो रहे हैं, so opinions then is really fucking accessible to other people also. ठीक है, तुम्हारे opinions you can actually influence many people. So like beauty is a very shitty show in my belief for what is going on out there. And so he says कि कभी अपने आप को नोटिस करना जब तुम अब यू नो अपनी बॉडी लैंग्वेज से लाइक तुम किसी चीज़ को जज कर रहे हो किसी हाँ. सो टेक अ स्टेप बैक, look at what you said and think think in your own head, like, was I saying this because I actually believe it, or was I saying this because I was born and I was conditioned, not knowingly but subconsciously. Society, जो समाज की बात करते हैं, जो हम लोगों से ही बना हुआ है, that is that so much of a great influence on you that you have formed this opinion on something and you cannot detach yourself from it. So first point, detaching yourself from your own upbringing, your own evolutionary I don't know, like your own caught up traits, what are they called? Let's see.
your thoughts or the things that you say, or maybe you're no longer all of them. And now what you're going to try to find out is which of your thoughts and things that you say are you, and maybe so you can not utilize the rest, or maybe so that you can correct the rest, because they're not representative of yourself as an integrated being. They don't take everything into account. My sense has been that you can tell when you're saying something that's not authentic by feeling out whether or not it makes you weak or strong. Now, sometimes when you're conversing with people, you can say something that embarrasses yourself. Now, Nietzsche said, for example, everyone has perjured themselves at least once in the attempt to maintain their good name. Something like that. It's not an exact quote, but I've got the gist of it right. So maybe you're saying things to impress someone, or you're saying things to remain part of your political group or your social group or whatever, or maybe you have attributes, personal attributes that might be positive that you're ashamed of, and so you're not going to speak about them. So there's a falseness about your self-representation. Watch for 2 weeks and see make a rule that if you start to say something and it makes you feel weak, it's hard to describe exactly what that means. To me, what it means is that I can feel things coming apart sort of in my midsection, so I think it's an autonomic phenomena. And the subjective sense is of falsehood. It's like I've just stepped off the solid ground and onto something that doesn't support me well, and it feels like a self-betrayal. So that's existential inauthenticity. You can feel it right away. And then the rule is, shut up if that happens. Stop talking. And then feel around and see if you can find some words that you can say in that situation that don't produce that sensation. And it's like, you see this played out in different.
So what he's basically saying is तुम्हें याद है कभी एग्जाम में तुम्हें कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं आता and you try to make up bullshit trying to answer it thinking कि एक आधा नंबर तो मिल ही जाएगा. And that's so that sort of thing that you know you're projecting on bullshit but you can't shut up क्योंकि social obligation, you have to get these marks, you know. So in a similar way, like when we say something that is not truly authentic to us, and I think इसमें not just तुम्हारी upbringing के beliefs आ जाते हैं, but many things that you don't question about the things that are taught, like this is the known truth, this is the hard truth, like you can't question this. And अगर तुम क्वेश्चन करते भी तो जिन्होंने बताया उन्हें खुद नहीं पता होता that why is it because so I completely lost a trail of my mind. What was I saying? So let's watch it.
Forms of drama. So there's a scene in The Lord of the Rings, for example, where
I've really not scripted this video in any way other than जो मैंने ये बात करनी थी इनके बारे में, तो कुछ इनकी वीडियोस शॉर्ट करने के लिए कि यार ठीक है ये शॉर्ट है, इनके बारे में बात की जा सकती है. So you'll see actually me genuinely thinking what to say and taking a pause, taking a break, then losing my trail of mind in the middle of a thought. So I'm not that articulate as I want to be, as Mr. Peterson is, as anyone who has reached a stage is, because I think it takes a lot of communication skills, even with yourself, with your own self, how you communicate to yourself, how you tell the story of you, तुम्हारा self portrayal क्या होता है, that
where I believe it's Gollum and Bilbo. It's The Lord of the Rings. It's Bilbo. It's The Lord of the Rings, not The Hobbit, because The Hobbit's Frodo, right? So it's Bilbo. Have I got it wrong? It's the other way around? Okay, so Gollum and Frodo, yes, are going across this swamp. And the swamp is essentially full of dead souls. And they have to step very carefully in order to not fall off the track. And the stones are sort of hidden underneath the surface. And the implication there is that in order to follow a trail properly, you have to pick your ground very carefully, and you have to test it to see if it's solid, or you'll slip off into this, well, essentially.
Basically testing like कौन से belief तुम्हारे are on the basis of something that is concrete, तुम्हारी नींव एक thought की वो कितनी solid है. There is also this saying कि तुम कितने actually में intellectual हो या तुम कितना ज़्यादा manipulated हो by some things, is when you answer the same thing as the cause, as the effect of multiple questions. जब तुमसे 10 चीज़ों के सवाल पूछे जाएं and you all think all of these are because of this one thing, nothing else. You will find many politically motivated people do this. एंड फ्रॉम बोथ साइड्स. ठीक है, हम इंडिया में हैं तो बहुत इजी है इस साइड को ये बता के मैनिपुलेट करना, इस साइड को ये बता के मैनिपुलेट करना. लाइक लेट्स जस्ट से vaguely how modernism is bad, how modernity is bad, and let's say how traditions are bad. ठीक है, how they have enslaved us, how modernity is making us dumb, is going to enslave us. एंड बट जब तुम इनके रूट कॉज में जाते हो तो तुम्हें दिखता है कि सिर्फ एक, आई थिंक द वेरी बेस ऑफ एनी मोटिवेशन people have in this world is power. Everything bloody is a game of power. Money, it gives you power. Power to get anything that you want, and the more you have it, the quicker you can get it. ठीक है, in a more positive way, it is an opportunity, it gives opportunity to you. It's a medium of exchange. Sex, it's about power. तुम्हारी अगर बहुत ही बायोलॉजिकल वे में जाया जाए तो योर इंस्टिंक्ट that your generation is, you know, your generation will survive, that gives power, that gives relief. Next time I feel, if I think a topic is interesting, I'll prepare my thoughts beforehand so I am more articulate and I can speak more, you know, in a better way, so that in a structured form, so it's easy to understand, right? Right. Let's get back to it.
Actually, what it is chaos. You'll slip off into chaos. And that's a dramatic representation of what I'm suggesting to you. It's like all you have to do is notice, and you have to pay attention. And so to some degree, what you're doing, in fact, is you're making your capacity to pay attention superordinate to your capacity to think and to speak. Because you might ask yourself, well, exactly what are you? Well, I said you can identify yourself with your intellect, and that's very, very common. It's sort of like the worst sin of intelligent people. But that isn't all you are. And there are lots of reasons for making the assumption that attention is a higher order function than intellect. Because attention is what teaches intellect. So if you pay very, very careful attention to what you say without higher order function than intellect, because attention is what teaches intellect. So if you pay very, very careful attention to what you say without without bringing the automatic assumption that what you say is you to bear on the conversation, and then also to feel like you have to defend it once you say it, you'll find very rapidly that very much of what you think and say has absolutely nothing to do with you. It's the dead souls that are in that little scene that I described to you, sort of manifesting themselves in your head. They're dead ideas that other people have created. And some of them might be applicable to you, You might have the right to them, so to speak. But lots of them won't, and you're...
So he says that intellect is a function of attention. And by that I think he means, okay, you get more intelligent as you gather the ability to focus on one thing, and in that one thing you get very, very good at, so people say you're intelligent in that. And I think that's one of the reason why a lot of teachings in school is not very good, because some people who can, focus on the subjects that are particularly taught in school, they are, seen as very intelligent, and others who, may not be that accustomed to the subjects that are taught, जिनका ब्रेन एक वॉन्डरर है कि यार क्यों पढ़ रहे हैं हम ये, मुझे इसमें कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं है, मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा है मुझे क्यों पढ़ना पड़ रहा है. So they might not, and they don't get good grades, right? they won't be the conventional intelligent person that you see. But I think it's all the game of focus. You get good at what you practice, and you practice more what you get good at, and so on and so forth. Alright, let's listen to it more.
Using the words as camouflage or self-defense or as an attempt to attain status in a status hierarchy or to make yourself look smarter than you are, or there's all sorts of reasons, or to hide what you think from other people. I see this in undergraduate essays all the time. So, because the essays are full of cliches, and you know, it's not all that obvious why a cliche is a bad thing, but a cliche is a bad thing in the same way that being possessed by the dead is a bad thing.
So agreeing with the masses just because you don't want to be questioned, you don't want to debate about something, which is fine. I think we all don't have the energy to debate on everything that we say, and it's better not to debate with fools, I think. But in other settings, you know, it seeps through, and things like जिनमें तुम्हें debate करना भी चाहिए, where you should actually put your point forward and speak up. You are okay with the self-realized mediocrity, the mean of all the people around you, the average, what the masses say. You are okay with just repeating that.
It's like a cliche isn't you. It's something else. It's like the crowd. It's like the other. It's not living. It has nothing to do with you. And part of the reason that students use cliches is because it's easier than using your own genuine creative formulation. So you can just default to cliche use, but there's something more insidious than that, is that if you write an essay that's not...
Okay, so this stream will be a part of series where I'm just trying to be good at, being more articulate with my thoughts. Articulate means more composed with my thoughts, more composed with what I say, with saying the things, that are to the point and that are structured in a way कि सामने वाले से communication भी better हो जाए. They get what I'm trying to say, and they're not confused as to what am I even trying to say, क्योंकि this is one of the problems that I wander off very easily from one topic, talking about something, and I'll just drive over to this other thing that happened, this other example that happened. One thing leads to another, and so in a way my attention is really really bad. And इसलिए अगर सामने वाला interested भी होगा, he would want to focus, he or she would want to focus on my thoughts. They won't be able to. Just be like, he has weird things to say. He has a lot of things to say, and he says a part of it, and we don't understand anything of it. You combine, it's just shit, right?
Nothing but a string of cliches, and you get criticized, then you're not being criticized. What's being criticized is the cliches, and you can hide behind that, and the part of you that's wise but treacherous thinks, well, the criticism doesn't really apply to me because, I didn't really say what I thought. And then there's this kind of sense you get that you've gotten away with something, which is a terrible thing. So when I read undergraduate essays, what I see very frequently is, especially the first essays, just nothing but cliches. It's awful. It's dull. You can